When we have other aspects of health in the foreground, it can actually help our overall health in general. There's so many things that are important when it comes to health. It can be overwhelming, but today we're just going to focus on the one thing, and that is how creativity can improve your mental and emotional health. Hey peeps, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you decided to stop by. My name is Nicole and I am a health nut enthusiast and a creativity advocate. So today I just wanted to do kind of like a sit down talk through video about something that I've been thinking about recently. We've got our tea. So if you were into tea or coffee, I just realized I have a big spill on the side. I suggest you grab a cup of tea or coffee if you're more into that, and sit down and watch this video and sip along with me. So hard to reach. Ooh. So hard. First world problems. Alright, so the title of this video will be something along the lines of why creativity can actually increase your health. And what I want to talk about specifically is how it can improve your mental and even emotional health. So often we're bombarded with people who talk about the physical sides of health, and while obviously I'm very into that as well, making sure that your body is functioning properly, making sure that you're fueling your body with the right foods, we kind of forget that we also have a brain and emotions that we need to feed the proper foods, so to speak, in order to create a more balanced lifestyle. Now, I mean, obviously, no one can ever achieve, is what I'm trying to say, a completely balanced lifestyle, but having some of these other aspects of health in the foreground, it can actually help our overall health in general. There's so many things that are important when it comes to health. It can be overwhelming, but today we're just going to focus on the one thing, and that is how creativity can improve your mental and emotional health. So there's going to be 3 things I'm just going to kind of lightly touch base on. If you're more interested in doing more research, I haven't done a whole lot of research, just disclaimer that a lot of this is just my opinions, personal experience. This is how I feel creativity helps me. And I know it can actually really help a lot of other people. I also have siblings and my father, who is also really creative, and how it can actually, how it helps them and affects them as well. So I'm not just thinking of it in just my terms, but in other experiences as well from families and some friends, and why I think this really can help a lot of people. So first, let's define what I'm talking about creativity before we get into the 3 main points. And basically when I mean creativity, I mean literally anything. It can be painting, it can be writing, it can be writing music, it could be just singing music. It doesn't even have to be original. It can just be learning how to play the guitar or the piano or something and playing some music. It can be literally anything, and it could even be some more practical things like learning how to woodwork or learning how to build a birdhouse, or if you want to build a shed or something. It can be anything. It's not just about art things in a way. It can be anything that uses your brain to work out a problem, or maybe an obstacle to get you at the end of the day, a product or something that you can hold that you worked for. And that is kind of what I think of when I think of creativity. So the first main point to why I think creativity can improve our health is it can create fulfillment. So fulfillment in life is something that I think everyone chases for, but we don't always hit the mark, and we don't always receive it because we don't always know what that means. What does fulfillment in life mean? Well, fulfillment in life can be doing something productive, hard. You worked really hard for it, and at the end of the day you have something to show for it. And this, obviously life isn't perfect and that doesn't always come about, but in creativity and doing something creative, it's always something that we can come up with and work really hard on, and at the end of the day we have something to show for it. It might not always be good, especially if we're beginning in something, if we don't know how to do something yet, but it's something, and we can continue to cultivate that element. For instance, let's just use an example of like painting. A painter, you might not be very good at it at first, but at the end of the day, you have a painting, you painted it, it's a work of art. And even if it doesn't look very good at first, you keep going and you keep cultivating it, and until you get to the point where what's in here is produced onto the canvas exactly as you think it. And it's so fulfilling to be able to create something that you have up here in your head, whether that's an emotional connection with something. It's, I guess, to an example of what something isn't very fulfilling. I'm not trying to bash people who watch movies. I watch movies, I watch TV shows, okay? It's entertaining, it's fun. But when you sit down and you watch a movie, it's not something that I would call very fulfilling. You sit down, you watch the movie, it's in front of your eyes, there's not a lot of brain activity, everything's presented for you. You didn't work for anything, you didn't work for the movie, you were just sitting down and enjoying it. And it's at the end of the day, once you're done, you either enjoyed it or you didn't, and you walk away feeling a little dissatisfied because it's not fulfilling. It's not something that gives you a sense of, I worked hard for this and now I have nothing to show for it. It's just an example. Obviously, watching movies is fun. It's something I would probably put on the side of a different level of health, because I do think that watching movies and stuff can be cool, but we're not talking about that today. I'm just trying to give an example of something that isn't necessarily fulfilling. So that is the first point I have to make. Is just creativity can be very fulfilling, and it can make us feel that life is worth living because we have something other than just the basics of living. So the basics of living is just providing food, providing water for your body, and making sure you have clothes and a house. That is the basic elements. When you do something creative, that's when you're taking your health and your life to the next level, and you're doing something with the maybe talents that you have. Maybe you don't have talents, but you want to be good at something like painting or woodworking or something. Then it can really stimulate your brain in a way that nothing else can, and it's very, very fulfilling. This is so good. It's very yummy. The second point I want to make is that it can be very stimulating for your brain. Doing something creative, whether that be maybe writing a story, or it could also be reading. I think reading can also kind of stimulate your brain in a way, but we're not going to talk about that. We're talking more about you creating something. So whether you're writing a story or painting a picture, or it could be something like I said earlier, writing music. A lot of people really enjoy writing music. Even if you can't play an instrument, if you can sing, that's something as well. One of the reasons why it can stimulate your brain is it's allowing your brain to do what it's supposed to do, and that is to think of things to do. So there's obviously habitual things that you do that you don't really think about because you just do them, like breathing. And then there's other things that are, like I said, fulfilling and can stimulate your brain. And those are the creative elements. I don't know if like everyone necessarily is as creative as maybe like me or some of my siblings, but what I mean is just finding something that you enjoy doing that allows you to use your brain. It's kind of a hard thing to explain. I don't know precisely how to explain it, except that you're using your brain cells. You're doing something that is activating your brain to do what it is, to do what it does, and that is to think. When we're scrolling on social media, or again, like I said, use the example of watching a movie, those things are in front of us. It's self-explanatory. We don't need to think about it. We just do it. And same thing as maybe like drinking this tea. I'm not thinking about it. But how I could turn this into, for instance, how I would think about something is if I sip on the tea, and I can describe the taste. It's a very spicy, very creamy tea because I put half and half in it. It's sweet because I added honey. Those are just for example of what creativity can do for your brain. When you're doing something, you're actually using your brain for what it's designed to do, and that is to think. And stimulating and your brain is a wonderful thing to do to improve your health, because honestly, I don't think anybody would really want to be brain dead. Just couch potato, watching TV. There's nothing fulfilling and there's nothing stimulating about the activity. It's just pure entertainment. And of course that can be very beneficial to us too, but in smaller amounts than we think. Doing something that uses our brain's activities can increase, one, emotional health, because it can actually make you happier, and two, it can again stimulate your brain, your thinking, and when things come along that maybe are stressful, you're able to be more calm in the situation because you have thought through these problems, which brings me to my next point, which is creativity can actually improve your brain's capacity to be smarter, essentially. And even like engaging in an activity, something creative that maybe you're not into, like, or maybe you don't do, such as listening to classical music or reading a classical book like Jane Eyre. I'm reading Jane Eyre right now, or a Jane Austen or a Dickens novel. These other things, just partaking in something that has been created can also help improve your brain functionalities. And the reason I think that this is so important and why I think it needs to be talked about a little bit more is because as people, we have minds and we need to use them. So often we're engaging in activities that don't bring us fulfillment, don't stimulate our brain, and don't make us think through problems. And creativity can actually help us think through problems and can create a smarter brain. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be on like a genius level or prodigies, although that would be wonderful that we could all be like that, but just working at something to get better at it can help. So I'm going to use the painting example again. I'm going to use my brother as an example. He is currently 13 years old and he's wanting to learn to paint kind of like Bob Ross. And one of the things that a beginner does is they just do what they think they're supposed to do. They don't know what they're doing yet. They're just kind of practicing. As they continue to learn how to paint, they're essentially teaching themselves how to deal with a problem. If my brother is using a maybe specific type of paint and he realizes that, oh, I need more paint thinner for it, he's going to learn from that mistake, and he's also going to learn how to solve that problem. For example, my paint's sticking to the canvas too hard and it's drying too fast. Maybe I need a little bit of paint thinner. I'm not exactly sure if that's true or not. I don't paint, but for instance, making your paint more watery can help help your paint glide onto the canvas easier. It might dry about the same, but it's going to help you paint more fluidly because your paint is not as thick. My brother will learn that mistake, and he will also learn how to solve that problem by buying paint thinner. He needs paint thinner for it. And as he keeps going, maybe say he's trying to paint a mountain, and the way that it's shaped isn't very believable. Oh, there's something wrong with this painting and I need to figure it out. That is what I'm trying to say creativity does. When you do something to create something, you will come across problems that you will initially have to solve. And that is something that we don't, as humans, at least here in America and in places where we're a lot more privileged than maybe third world countries, we don't experience problem solving very often because everything is basically just handed to us. And we don't actually go out of our way to find things to do that are fulfilling. Again, I keep coming back to this, but I'm trying to bring it all back. Fulfilling, stimulating, and practical, and also engaging our minds to solve a problem. And now I'm going to use one last example before I finish this video, is in the case of writing. I'm a writer and I'm writing a story right now, and every once in a while I come across a problem and I just stop writing. and I think about it for a long time, like, why did I stop writing? There's something wrong with this scene, or maybe there's something wrong with this viewpoint, and I have to figure out what I have to do with it. It's coming up with a problem that I have and trying to solve it in order to keep going, because so oftentimes we do something creative and we just quit because we are not good at it enough, fast enough, or we just don't know how to solve the problem. Go out and solve the problem, Google it, YouTube it, and figure it out so that way you can allow your brain to learn how to be smarter, how to get through problems. And that can also help in everyday life, not just the creative side, but even in your job. By doing something that stimulates and creates a smarter, essentially, brain, you will have a healthier aspect and mindset of life, and you will be able to solve problems better and with less stress, with less anger, because you are teaching your brain how to solve them. So I hope this video kind of explains what I mean by creativity can be a really great tool to improve our mental and emotional health. Oh, one last thing before I end. I realized I didn't talk a whole lot about the emotional side of it, but I think one of the reasons why creativity can also help our emotional side, not just our mental health, but is by using that creative outlet to deal with our negative and positive emotions. And this gets it out of us in a way that's healthier than getting angry at someone, or yelling at the driver that just cut you off, or random things like that seem harmless, but they can actually erupt and evolve into worse problems, so into worse habits. And so by creating a emotional outlet for those good and bad emotions, you can actually learn to deal with your emotions without letting them control or rule you, which can be a really bad thing in a healthy and just life in general, just not just health, but just life in general. And I think that when we have something like painting or writing, or if you like to do poetry, that's also a creative outlet too. It can be anything, it doesn't have to be that, but it helps us to just deal with our emotions in a much healthier way. So that's just what I wanted to say for that. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and like it if you liked this video. I hope to do more videos like this where I just talk, sit down, and just drink some tea. Speaking of, I haven't drank it in a second. Oh man, it's still so good. So yeah, just let me know in the comments down below whether or not you learned something from this video. I hope that it was clear. I know that with these videos I'm still kind of learning how to be clear with what I'm saying. I've never really spoken to a camera. I've spoken to myself a lot, so I don't know if that really counts as training. But yeah, I hope I was clear. I hope you learned something. And I hope you pick something up creative. If you're not a creative person, I highly recommend picking something and just sticking with it. I might do another video similar to that where I talk about how you stick with something. But I think it's really important to do something. Even if you don't want to create something, read a book, read a book instead of watching a movie. Do something that stimulates and helps your brain to think through things. Which can be really beneficial to our health. I really recommend it. It's just as important, I think, as doing exercises and eating right. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. See you later.